Hello everyone. Let us see the verdict of another case in which our Supreme Court through Justice P.N. Bhagwati have added a new horizon to Article 21 of the Constitution of India, which provides for right to life, and Justice P.N. Bhagwati have laid down that right to life does not mean mere physical existence, rather it means to live life with dignity, and that dignified life is even available to detainees who are being detained under preventive detention laws. So let us see what right detainees have, because this Francis Coralie Mullin was a British national who has been detained under Cofe-Posa Act of 1974, that is Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Act 1974 के तहत this British national Francis Coralie Mullin को detain किया गया था, and while that person was in detention, that person was deprived. He was not getting she was not getting right to meet with the family members. So key issue which was involved in this case, whether detainee have the same right just like the ordinary human being to live a dignified life, whether the life to live in a dignified situation includes right to visit, right to have the access of family members, or it is completely restricted to them. So what kinds of right is available to a detainee? Let us see through this case. So name of this case is Francis Coralie Mullin versus the Administrator, Union Territory of Delhi and others. So let us see detail of Francis Coralie Mullin versus the Administrator, Union Territory of Delhi and others, जिसका जजमेंट आया था on 13 January 1981 by the Supreme Court of India by the two-judge bench comprising Justice P.N. Bhagwati and Justice F. Murtaza Fazal Ali, and the judgment was delivered by Justice P.N. Bhagwati, and the citation of this case is 1981 Supreme Court. तो हुआ क्या था? This Francis Coralie Mullin was a British national. He has been detained under the preventive detention laws. So this person was detained under preventive detention laws, and that to be specifically under Cofe-Posa Act of 1974, that is Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act of 1974, because if any activity is such which is a threat to national security or to the foreign exchange, then that person can be kept under preventive detention. But the key issue which was involved in this case कि क्या preventive detainee के पास right to life is not included, and that to live in a dignified position, in dignified circumstance, because the detainee was denied access to have the visit of the family members. Even she was barred from meeting the lawyers. तो key issue which was involved in this case कि क्या हम detainee को इस तरह की situation में रख सकते हैं which is cruel, whether that person is subjected to inhuman condition, or Article 21 of the Constitution of India which talks about right to life. It does not mean mere physical existence, rather it provides a dignified life to all of us. That was the key issue which was involved in this case, because this Mullin was denied access of her family members, even if she was debarred to meet her 6-year-old child she was being debarred to get access of the friends along with the lawyers. So she claimed that her Article 21 is being violated. The mere fact that a person is a detainee under preventive detention laws, we cannot subject him to inhuman treatment. This was the key issue in this case. So the primary issue before the Supreme Court was that whether the detainees who has been detained under the preventive detention laws, whether they have the right to human treatment. Yeah, by the mere fact that they are a detainee and that to be under preventive detention laws, so we will be subjecting to that person to cruel and degrading situation, to whether they have the right to human treatment as well as to live their life with dignity. That was the key issue involved with respect to the interpretation of Article 21, which was involved in this very case. So the legal provision which was involved in this Francis Coralie Mullin case is Article 21, which talks about right to life and personal liberty. And moreover, as this person was detained under COFEPOSA Act, that is the Conservation of Foreign Exchange and Prevention of Smuggling Activities Act of 1974, as Article 21 protects the right to life and personal liberty of all the persons, including the detainee, and that could be only taken by the procedure which has been established by law. And COFEPOSA Act of 1974, it allows the detention of the person under the preventive detention laws if the person is involved in such activity which is a threat to national security or whose activity is such which is threat to foreign exchange. So our Supreme Court have ultimately decided that every person, be it a detainee under preventive detention laws, that person also has the right to life. And right to life does not merely mean physical existence. Rather, it says that you have to live in a dignified situation. It means right to life includes right to live in dignity. तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने बोला कि एवरी पर्सन, हम इस बात से कि एक पर्सन डिटेनी है एंड दैट टू बी अंडर प्रिवेंटिव डिटेंशन लॉज, तो हम उसको आर्टिकल 21 का वॉयलेशन उसके साथ नहीं कर सकते हैं. एंड आर्टिकल 21 इज टू बी गिवन broad interpretation. We cannot restrict its approach by mere physical existence. Rather, it says that every human being has a human right as well as the fundamental right to live a dignified life. And dignified life includes the right to meet the family members, lawyers, even in detention, right to have adequate food, adequate medical treatment, because these are the aspect of dignified life which was laid down in this case. You cannot suspend fundamental right to a person on the ground that कि उसे तो detain किया गया है under the preventive detention laws में, he is threat to national security or his activity is such which is a potential threat to foreign exchange. So that person is all protected from the cruel and degrading conditions, because right to life does not merely limited to the physical existence. Rather, it has the broad domain, and that to live with dignity. And it was laid down that every person, even the detainee, have the right to meet the family members, lawyers, friends, and that to be subject with reasonable restriction as laid down by the jail manual of that particular state or union territory. But jail manual should not be acting in violation of the Article 21 of the Constitution of India. Rather, the person have the right to have adequate food, medical treatment, and all the opportunity for family visit, including the visit to have of advocate to get the legal advice. That is all included in Article 21 itself. So, right to life and personal liberty को in this Mullin case itself has been given a wider domain. A new horizon has been added that on the mere ground कि एक person को हमने detain कर रखा है because he is a potential threat to national security or his activity is such कि he is threat to foreign exchange, we cannot take the human rights and his fundamental right merely on the ground that he is involved in such activity. He is having all the fundamental right just like other human beings who are living their life with liberty. In other words, who are living a dignified life. This was being laid down in this case, and this case has influenced the subsequent judgment in the sense that it has given the new domain to Article 21, which talks about right to live in a dignified situation. Now it's the time for your practice question. So you have to tell that in the case of Francis Coralie Mullin versus the administrator, the Supreme Court have laid down that Article 21 includes what? Is it the right to freedom of speech and expression, or it is the option B which talks about right to live with human dignity? या ये बात कर रहा है कि person have the right to assemble peacefully, or Article 21 is about to move freely throughout any part of the India. So you have to tell that in this Francis Coralie Mullin के केस में Supreme Court ने Article 21 को interpret किया है, and what that Article 21 includes. Is it a right to freedom of speech and expression, or it is the right to live with human dignity, or it is the right to assemble peacefully without arms, or it is the right to move freely throughout any part of India. In subjective question, you have to write the significance of this case. कि significance क्या है Francis Coralie Mullin का case when it comes to the interpretation of Article 21 of the Constitution of India, and how this judgment have impacted the rights of detainees, because it has laid down in this very case that the right of detainee is at equal footing just like the other person who are not being detained, because they also have the right to live in a such situation where they have access to all basic human rights to live a dignified life. Thank you.